Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of ChiroSecure Live. Dr. Stu Hoffman here, president of ChiroSecure, and today I'm thankful to have Dr. Matthew Loop. Everybody knows him because he is everywhere in terms of social media, and so many doctors that I speak with have utilized his information, whether they've heard him in a seminar setting or have read his book, but they're getting all kinds of new patients by utilizing social media in a effective way so that they can get their name and information out to the public in a very cost effective but safe way. And that's what we're going to talk about today in terms of utilizing social media and reducing your risk in it while getting unbelievable results. And recently, Matthew has spoken at Harvard, and I want to start with that today.
It was fantastic. I still have adrenaline running through my body.
I can imagine.
One of my childhood dreams. And by the way, I just wanted to extend my gratitude for you and Dr. Allen having me on today. It's my pleasure to contribute, and I'm sure you guys will find it valuable, as will the viewers and listeners today.
So tell us what happened at Harvard.
Yeah, I get to speak about my personal story and some of the newest strategies on Facebook that are helping doctors and professionals grow their influence, impact, and income. And, it's interesting how opportunity presents itself sometimes, because I was speaking at a seminar for doctors in the Sugar Land, Texas area. I wasn't even going to speak at that seminar because I had planned to go to another seminar in California. But as I got off stage in Sugar Land, I had a gentleman approach me and he said, something, I think you would be a good fit for the Business Expert Forum at the Harvard Faculty Club. Would you be interested in sharing your message with the community? I had to think about it for a little bit, and I said, well, absolutely. But, I almost didn't take that gig, but it is interesting how life swerves you in a different way. So
when you got into social media to begin with, how did that even occur to you to start working with the social media platforms and get it working for yourself, let alone apply it for other doctors?
That's a great question. When I started in 2005, it was more so by accident than anything else. I was graduated chiropractic school 2004, and I had all this energy and enthusiasm, was growing my practice, and things were happening, but I was a little naive in business. I didn't know that I had to sometimes wait 2 or 3 months for an insurance reimbursement to come back in. And so I got to a point where my credit cards and my loan debt was maxed. I mean, it was pretty bad at the time. And my ex-girlfriend's father had to float me a check for $2,000 just to keep me going at one point in space. But right after that time is when I began to read books by like Robert Cialdini, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, Michael Gerber's E-Myth. And I really began to see how principles like consistency, reciprocity, social proof, liking, and scarcity, all that stuff fit in. And right around that same time is when a little social network called MySpace was really gaining momentum. I just happened to be on there networking and sending ridiculous, stupid images to friends and hanging out, and having fun. And one day I got the idea and I thought, these are real people, first of all, on this social network. I can connect with individuals that are 5 miles from my office that have certain interests. And I found that very interesting. So I just began to put out great content and then connect with people in my local area. And I found that 1% to 2% right off the bat would say, hey, you're a chiropractor. I have this going on. Can you help me? And those turned into referrals in the office. And then later on down the road, as it turned into 10, 15 new patient referrals per month, just from MySpace, I had friends that were asking me, dude, what are you doing? How are you using this, quote, kids network to bring people in the office? And so I started showing them my systems and exactly what I was doing. And that really spawned out a separate accidental career in consulting, because what I found is that was cutting into my practice time, teaching all my friends and other colleagues how to do it. Then they would refer other colleagues that were outside of the profession. So I applied similar principles to, attorneys, real estate professionals, and accountants, all these other business owners. And I thought, listen, I love helping patients in the office, but if I could help thousands of doctors reach millions of patients, that's a pretty cool thing. And so I just started to devote more time in the consulting aspect. And then eventually that secondary source of income overtook my primary. So my journey was more accidental than anything else, just at the right place at the right time.
Isn't that how success usually happens? So that's really good. And, my experience dates back further than social media.
Sure.
When I was in active practice, we did TV commercials, we did yellow page ads. I had a full page in the yellow pages that cost thousands and thousands of dollars every single month. We spent a significant amount of money on our marketing efforts, and it worked. We were very blessed, very successful, but it's a whole different world. And, when you talk about yellow pages, I speak at the schools, they don't even know what the heck you're even talking about. And, and it's a good thing that they don't, because it's a better world from an information perspective. And when we look at what is current, I think it can be almost a trap, because we have all of these things available to us now, and it's great. Just this morning on one of the Facebook groups, I was asked a question. So I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I have all these dings on my phone because I'm getting asked risk management questions. And it creates a different sense of community. And it seems like that's what you're utilizing in your efforts to teach others to expand their community and their sphere of influence through these networks. Is that an accurate way to put it out there?
Absolutely. I try to practice what I preach. And the way that I became successful and well known using social media in a few different industries is what I teach doctors how to do. There is a specific formula that you can apply, but if you take it all at once, it'll certainly be way overwhelming. I typically recommend getting one system in place that is comfortable, you're doing very well with it, and then you can always stack and layer other systems on top as you go. And then eventually you can always delegate certain activities to people in-house or to other agencies or whatnot. But there is, you got to get your hands dirty, certainly. And if you want to build a big voice, someone that the community looks at as an authority figure and resonates with.
Yeah, and I totally get that. So when it comes to all the social media, and most people think first of Facebook. When one of the things that I had as a challenge was going on Facebook, which I do every morning because I like to wish people a happy birthday. And I do scroll, and then if I get notices or whatever, I attend to it. But sometimes I'll see on the scroll that all of a sudden one of the doctors that I may know puts out something. As an example, they put out this medical doctor, that SOB, he told the patient this, and I'm going to go and do this and that and the other thing. And this is a very real situation that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I actually called the doctor right there on the spot and said, you need to get that the heck off of there before that doctor sees it, or someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows somebody, because that's going to show up somewhere. And your board is not going to be very happy keeping your license in good standing as a result of what you're putting out there. And I know we're talking about marketing, but do you have any advice that you give to people about their own postings on Facebook? Because certainly so many of them don't think of the ramifications that no matter what, this stuff is forever.
Sure. Number one, check with your state board first and foremost to see if there is a policy in place. Some states do have certain guidelines that you should follow, obviously. Now, in terms of referencing a specific doctor's name, I never recommend doing that, because that can get you in a lawsuit. That can pull you in a lot of different directions that you don't want. So, I mean, some of these things should be relatively obvious, but they're not. Always check with your state board first. And then, there's not, I don't see an issue with being real and authentic and being concerned. It's just how you describe the scenario. And I would also try to be as objective as possible. Sometimes we get emotional and passionate about certain things because we are in the natural health space. But the more objective you come across, I think the more, in some cases, the more powerful your point can be. That person that's reading can use their own logic and reason to be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, without calling somebody out and risking a lawsuit. The fact of the matter is, because social media has made the world smaller, or Facebook has, I mean, the chances are their patience is probably on there. So you're right. It will get back to that doctor in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and you just brought up some really terrific things, because most of these issues show up based on people coming from an emotional perspective, not necessarily thinking through what they're doing. And I guess I would say that the doctor should actually know that whether it's a personal page or a business page, everyone gets to see it, and they should always come from the professional point of view whenever they're posting anything. I don't like to see when someone a doctor puts down on their Facebook page pictures of them being wasted over the weekend at a party or anything like that. So these are just some of the traps, but you also talked about very well that you can always check with your state board on what the rules and regulations are in terms of what you can put out and what you can't. The one thing I would recommend to the doctors is that state boards, when you call them up, first of all, don't ever be afraid to. So many doctors say, oh, I don't want to call them. Well, they don't look up your phone number. They don't ask your name. They're a resource, and they're there for a reason, but they won't give you a specific answer, generally speaking. The right question is, where online in the rules and regulations can I find anything pertaining to social media content? And that's how you go about it. So let's shift gears and go into the actual social media marketing. If a chiropractor is looking to get started in social media, where do they even begin?
It's a great question. There's a lot of stuff you could be doing. As I mentioned previously, Facebook is the biggest network. So I would recommend beginning there, having an account, personal, and then from your personal page, you're going to open up a business fan page. That's for your practice. That's where you're going to do most of your marketing. Facebook has over 2 billion people, billion with a B, on it. So it's such a great opportunity. Don't get distracted with the other stuff yet. And there is value in other networks, but if you're going to keep it simple and do one thing, do one network, focus your time, energy, effort, and attention on Facebook. Get the basics in place first, like set up a profile. And then if you go to facebook.com/pages, you'll be able to set up your business practice page in the name of your practice. And you'd fill that out just like you would fill out any directory online with the basic information. And then you're going to be able to now share updates. And once you can share updates, well, they could be research-based, they could be tips, videos, graphics, just regular text updates, fill in the blank, multiple choice, a lot of stuff you can share, but you also have to know how to bring local fans to that page.
So when a doctor is just starting out, they all seem to have their own personal page, which so many of them use for personal and business at the same time. Are you suggesting that that's not a good idea, that they all need to make sure that they get a business-oriented page, a fan page as well?
Absolutely. And the fan page is free to set up, mind you. Facebook frowns upon marketing on your personal profile. They don't like it. And plus, if you have people it's unrelated. I mean, your message should match your market. So if you're going to talk about a lot of stuff related to the office and chiropractic, to education, I mean, if most of your friends list are other chiropractors, well, that's nice, but we're trying to educate patients and get our word out in the community. That's where most people are going to see us. So yeah, your marketing should be done on your Facebook fan page, or otherwise known as your practice business page.
And again, for all the doctors out there to remember, when you're making any claims or statements on Facebook, it's no different than putting out an advertisement that says, I guarantee results, or medicine has failed, I can definitely help, or any of the other things that your licensing board does take issue with. So just a simple reminder for everybody.
And also
But
check and see if
really
there's disclaimers. Some states require disclaimers, or if you are offering some type of discount on a normal fee. I mean, there are federal guidelines about Medicare, Medicaid, things like that. So you got to keep that in mind. And if you need to add a disclaimer to one of the ads, certainly do that.
a great point that I wouldn't have been considering right now. And so you're now talking about ads. That's different than a posting on your Facebook page. So is that taking us to a next step, a more advanced option?
Well, there's a couple ways that you can do this. Anytime you have the free type of Facebook outreach marketing, which is simply posting on your page. That costs you nothing. You can share content, and as you get more fans to your practice page, a fraction of them will see your updates. If you're lucky, between 10 and 20%, sometimes it's much, much less, because Facebook has a newsfeed filter. They prioritize certain things in the newsfeed. And give you an example, I posted something the other day on my Facebook fan page. We have 27,000 people that like my public page. I think 500 and something saw that. Whatever percentage, a very low percentage of people that saw that initial update. Now, you have an option called boosting on your fan page, and every little post you can boost it. That's a form of advertising. That's the simplest form. That means that you're going to spend $2, $5 to boost your content, your post, to either your fans, and their friends, or to a market that you select locally. That's all that means. And you can select all those criteria. So that's the simplest way of advertising. There are more sophisticated features once you go back into your ads manager, as Facebook calls it. Then you can run many different styles of ads. You can do video view type of ads, lead generation campaigns, engagement campaigns, website traffic, events. There's a lot of stuff that you can do back there. I'm not going to get too technical and complicated on that, but just know and understand that this year, because Facebook has limited distribution so much, and they have an obligation to their shareholders to make money, and they're doing a great job of it, you're going to have to pay for reach and distribution. You got to spend some money. And then when you do, you can start off with a couple $100 a month on boosts if you wanted to, just to get your message in the community. And then from there, as it produces a return, you can certainly scale your budget up, but that's different for every doc.
And that is one of the beauties of places like Facebook, is you don't have to spend one dime. You have to spend a few minutes to get your message out. But as you said, you can then boost it. You're talking a few dollars at a time. Mm-hmm. This is insignificant, especially to someone like me that had become accustomed to have a newspaper ad, a Yellow Pages ad, TV commercials, all of that, where we were spending thousands and thousands every month. And what a different world. But this is especially exciting to me because I deal with so many of the young, newer licensed doctors. What a great way to get started, get your name out there, and get information to your community so people get to know you in an easy environment to do that.
It's about 30 times less than traditional advertising, whether it's a phone book, newspaper, television, radio. So there is a tremendous amount of bang for the buck if you do it correctly. Obviously, there are certain metrics you want to hit, but we live in a great time, and it's certainly more affordable, as you mentioned, than the old school days.
Right. So if the doctors are out there and already on Facebook, is there any last thing when we talk about these ads that you would want to let them know to be able to tap in to the power of these Facebook ads?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, we could go on this subject for an entire day if we wanted to, but get in the habit of producing simple video content, either you in front of your phone, you in front of a video camera, or your laptop, because people resonate when they see your face. They get to look at you, and many times it's like they know, like, and trust you before they set foot in your office. Now, there's certain types of videos that can work really well on Facebook, like demonstration style videos. If you live in the Northeast and it's winter 6 months out of the year, why not do a simple video showing somebody how to shovel snow without injuring their spine? What's a great way to do that? It's a very useful tip and a strategy that the average person can use. Then you can take that video, whether you shoot it on your phone or somewhere else, you can upload it to your fan page. It's going to naturally get some free distribution and reach. And then you can start to boost that video to your local community. And from there, now that's their first impression of you. This doctor is giving away a piece of great, valuable insight and information. That's really cool. I call that results in advance. You're giving away something that's going to help them better their quality of life. Then from there, they may elect to follow your fan page now. Click the like button, especially if you do, and you should, give a call to action at the very end of your video. It might be something like this. Hey, listen, hopefully you found some value out of this snow shoveling video. If you did, please click the like button below and share it with friends and tag someone you feel could benefit from this information. And then you could also segue into something like, listen, if you're still having some issues in your low back and you want to get a professional checkup, then call our office here. Very, very simple. But nonetheless, you've given value to the community, and that's your first impression, and it goes a long, long way. I have doctors that will attract patients off of video content like that alone, not hard selling or anything like that, just putting out great stuff. And then people say, oh, wow, this is a chiropractor. I certainly need this. But that's one place where I would recommend you start because it's more high leverage.
What a terrific idea. And how easy it is to just get yourself out there by giving people something that's useful for them. Whenever you make something about the other person, it always comes back in a good way. And years ago, David Singer taught me one phrase that I, to this day, still use nonstop, and that is outflow creates inflow. And what we're talking about is just putting good information out there into the community and allowing it to come back. And you're not doing it so much for the direct response. I'm sure there are direct response ads as well, which we probably won't get into today, but we're talking about dealing with, helping other people. These are timely things that Matthew just talked about, the shoveling the snow. Well, we don't really need to do that so much here in Arizona, but for the most part, it's a seasonal issue.
Sure.
And I know, again, over all of my years of doing this, we always dealt with marketing from a seasonal perspective, because there's always something that fits and relates back to a person's health and well-being and why they would really benefit from being in your office. So I think that's really cool. I want to just shift again a little bit to where do you think, because all the doctors are on Facebook, but where do you think they're making the biggest mistakes? Is there a pitfall for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are many. The first one is not getting started. So if you're a doctor on this training right now and you're still not in the game, you really have to, because it kind of reminds me of 20, 30 years ago when you weren't in the yellow pages. People would look at you as suspect because that's what every reputable business did. The same thing's happening on Facebook and social media now. So you have to be there. And if you're not, and if you don't have a strong, overwhelming presence, it hurts your credibility with the market. People think you're hiding. So one, be there. Number two is...
Matthew, I just want to add to that because even with ChiroSecure, we pride ourselves in our industry as having been the leader in being proactive in getting good information out to the doctors, whether or not they're even insured with us. Everyone has access to all the information we offer. And we've done even this show. This show is being broadcast to everybody, not just a limited grouping, and we do it for the same exact intent to, number one, educate people and help them reduce their risk and be more successful. But we also do it because we found that it's important to always be the leader in whatever you do. And ChiroSecure has always had that posture, whether it be, with our actual policy or rates or whatever, but in the social media world. You can go on to some insurance websites and get some written content, which is good and it's valuable, but that's on a static website, old school stuff. People want this kind of content, and how better to do it getting an expert like you, as well as others that we get to bring on and expose to our audience and get them educated and going. And what you're saying is each one of these doctors could be doing very similar work at such little cost, just a little bit of effort, and have such great exposure.
Absolutely.
But if they don't, they're going to be left behind, because
sure.
that's how business is done today.
Is very true. And another reminds me of another pitfall that many doctors make. When you do go to boost and advertise your first post, don't just spend $50 or $100 to boost that post. Start at $5 for that boost and see how it does, because you'll find, and if you track this on your Insights tab, you'll find that certain posts garner more visibility and distribution, either based on the time of day that the post is distributed or based on the subject of the content or the type of content. Facebook does give priority to video, even live video on its network. So you might find that your live videos are getting more free distribution. And if you have compelling subject headlines, you're going to find that the engagement is really high on those, maybe compared to a regular text update. But when you spend $5 to test your boost, you'll see which ones are performing well, which ones are getting the lowest cost per engagement, the most likes, comments, and shares. Then that will clue you into the fact that, all right, well, this post is getting more traffic and shares. Let me spend $10 more on this post, $20, whatever it is. So gradually build it up, and don't just spend $100. I have doctors that'll email me all the time. I spent $100 on Facebook and a boost and it didn't work. So now they think Facebook doesn't work. You have to test, first of all. Every market's slightly different. If you live in a white collar area or blue collar area, you need to know your market very well, what their wants and needs are, so you can push out content that will be valuable for them. And by the feedback they give you, you will know if it's a hit or not.
I always appreciate when someone comes on and shows the community of ours how they shouldn't spend more money than they need to. You need to actually analyze what you're doing. And what a great concept, right? So, yeah, but that's better than hit or miss and just throwing out money. I appreciate that. What about social media in terms of inside your office? First, how do the doctors get their patients to like their fan page so that they have a natural audience right off the bat? Because again, over the years, things evolve. We, as a community, would send out newsletters. We used to do newspaper tabloids, but now we would then jump into, well, we now have a website, and that's great, but everyone's on social media. So how do you get your patients to want to entertain that and be part of your online community?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about leading. Think about it this way. Everyone is always concerned about what's in it for me. Why should I do this? So if you give patients a couple benefits and reasons to like your fan page, and you'll have to, again, check with your state board. Maybe you are allowed to do contests on your fan page, giving away a gift card to a local business in the area restaurant. If you can, that's great. You can fuse and have a contest along with sharing. Listen, on this fan page, we typically post mistakes to avoid when blah, 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 or the best foods to eat, or like share exactly what they're going to get as a subscriber of your fan page, and don't leave it to the dark. It's kind of similar to a traditional direct response style landing page. You know, you see the big headline, and then you typically see the bullet points underneath. And those bullet points are usually what is in it for you. What mistakes are you going to avoid? Are there things you're going to learn that aren't really found in a lot of places? But you have to give them some type of an incentive, whether that's through uh, strategic copy or just saying, hey, listen, this is what you will find out. And also you'll be connected to the newest practice updates. Periodically, we also run contests or giveaways for charity. I mean, just fuse it all together, and that is going to give them a big reason why to like your fan page.
Do you normally expect your team, your CAs, to be discussing this with patients?
I mean, anytime you can push it under their nose, absolutely. Like, hey, we have a fan page here, but again, the patient is going to do it. They're going to willingly do it or not. You could never subscribe somebody to your fan page because obviously that's a violation. But if they willingly go and they subscribe, then that's their information over there. But yeah, you can get your CAs involved on this. That's important to have all the team on the same page.
Okay, one of the things that we have promoted in the past is when it comes to your staff, they can also be dangerous, and they have their own pages. And some of the doctors, as an example, like to buy into the multi-level marketing groups, you know, whether it be nutritional products or whatever. And the first person they're going to sign up is their CA. And so the CA is now not only in the office, but out of the office promoting. Dr. Smith says that this is the greatest thing. It's going to cure hemorrhoids or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, that can be a liability right back to the doctor again.
Absolutely. And
So,
you also have to think about the public perception too. And so the
right.
liability is certainly there. How do you want to be perceived in the community? I know some doctors that do very well with that stuff. To each their own. But just like chiropractic kind of has a negative brand equity in many spaces, network marketing has a negative brand equity. So you got to be strategic with what you align yourself with too. And again, to each their own, know your rules and policies, and certainly police your staff, because I've seen crazy things happen.
And with that, do you recommend that each office have a social media policy? Because we have in the past. Is that something that you talk about at all?
That's smart. It's a very intelligent thing to do, and make it dummy proof so all the team knows what you can and can't do. And the earlier you set expectations, the easier your life will be and the less headaches and hassles.
Yeah, we're good at that here, you know, setting expectations in our office environment, because ultimately it's my name and reputation that I spent all these years building at stake. So every doctor should remember that any team member is simply an extension of them in the community.
It's very true.
You know, that's really important. When it comes to making posts on Facebook, you mentioned videos. Is there any difference of just uploading a video like we talked about of shoveling snow versus doing a Facebook Live event of shoveling snow?
You could do either or, certainly. Now, the live will typically get you more free distribution because Facebook is favoring live video at this stage. Who knows how long that's going to be for? I don't have a problem doing live video because you get one take. I've been doing video for a long time. But when you do that, you just realize that you want to speak to the camera like you're speaking with a patient. You want to be enthusiastic, deliver value. You're not going to do another take. And it's just, you don't want to be and appear like a scripted piece of plastic. So there is certainly value in doing the live video from the free angle. And then you can, of course, you can boost that post after it's all said and done. Maybe even ask a question to your audience to further stimulate engagement. One of the secrets of Facebook about free distribution, combining live video with engagement, I mean, that's your rocket fuel right there. Because the more comments you get and the more you respond, the more legs that post gets on Facebook anyway. So absolutely, live video is a fantastic way to do those demo videos.
Is there any other inner office challenges that you could see, or recommendations that you make? Because we even have staff become friends with patients. I mean, is there an appropriate etiquette here?
Yeah, that's a little risky. I don't typically recommend that. And
Yeah.
again, you got to check with your state board, but that's kind of common sense anyway. Keep it on a business relationship. Some doctors do that, some don't. I think that just opens you up to a lot of unnecessary or potential liability that you don't need, including yourself as the doctor.
Okay. And when the doctors go on Facebook, one of the greatest parts are all the different groups. So how does a doctor find groups that would be beneficial and of like mind, I guess you would say, for them in their community, so that they can have a greater outreach?
Facebook has a search tab in the upper left-hand corner. So you could literally type in the city name and maybe find community support groups. And I sometimes even recommend doctors create their own support group just as a resource of information for people, depending on whether it's chiropractic related or a condition that you treat most commonly in the office. But yeah, those are great resources and communities of individuals that are centered around a certain topic. And as long as you present yourself as a value adder or a solution finder, you'll be warmly received. But that, yeah, you're right. That is a very powerful way to get networked into some local group. But use Facebook search bar. Just type in your city, and then potentially type in a specialty or condition, and you might be able to find some support groups.
Well,
or local models.
I can attest that that works, because I know you've taught it, and I know people that have utilized it. And an example would be a female chiropractor that I'm well aware of, that has utilized this exact approach of yours to network online people connected with her, including pregnancy groups and natural birthing centers, where she was getting no less than 10 to 15 new patients a month just from that alone. And they thought that that was awesome. And quite frankly, so do I. So, I know what you're teaching is awesome. And I want to, just compliment you personally, but also acknowledge it because other people should know about you. Can you just talk about your book a little bit for me before we come to a close?
Sure. It's titled Social Media Made Me Rich. Here's how it can do the same for you. And in that book, I detail what the world's highest paid entrepreneurs are doing to grow their influence, their impact, and their monthly revenue. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of great strategies in the book alone. Now, I have specific trainings that are tailored more toward chiropractors, but the book is a great place to begin, and it'll really get your gears turning. I also have a free Facebook cheat sheet that a lot of doctors find very valuable, and that if you go to dcincome.com slash go/cheat sheet, dcincome.com/go/cheat sheet, you'll be able to download it. It's 22 pages of information that kind of give you the step-by-step on Facebook and the strategies and whatnot. But going back to the book, it's I don't hold anything back in it. It's 500 and something pages, because this is literally what I've used in methods and strategies to grow from zero to building influence to obviously doing very well financially and to creating a tribe of people that know, like, and trust me, and building a nice community.
One of the things that I get questioned on often, whether I'm teaching a seminar or people calling into the office, is it could be on Facebook, but it could be on Google or any of the review sites, that they received a bad review from somebody. What do you recommend that someone does with these bad reviews?
Well, it's going to happen eventually. Now, I typically recommend for the most part, you want to professionally respond. Sometimes it's our fault. Other times it's not. Other times it's an unethical competitor. I've seen all of the above scenarios. So that's going to be a case by case basis, but I always like to respond to show that I'm not hiding anything. That's what I teach doctors. But your response shouldn't attack anyone. It should be very professional. And if it was a mistake, I mean, sometimes maybe Mrs. Jones had to wait 5 minutes longer in the reception area, and she's not used to that, and she's had a bad day in the morning. We don't know what people are going through. Maybe it was a miscommunication during billing. So always try to put yourself in that patient's shoes, and then definitely respond. And potentially a phone call might even be the in order, certainly.
One of the things that I have recommended in that kind of situation, because there's no great silver bullet to resolve this, is that I've always tried to get the doctors to not engage in a back and forth with somebody, between HIPAA regulations and everything else. Just don't go there. But what you can do, I think, is important that you do respond, because everybody gets to see it. And if you put out a nice, gentle, professional response, others will realize that, this may not be so real of an issue. And a simple response can be something as simple as, Mary, this isn't something for the forum. I know we've discussed this in the past. I'm happy to resolve any individual issues with you. I'm going to reach out and give you a call personally today, or something to that effect. So it takes it offline, but the people that are reading these reviews still see, as you said, don't back away from it.
Yeah.
And still, you're not getting into the negativity of it.
Very true.
So just in closing, I'm so happy we had you on today. And is there any last tidbit that you want to share with everybody? Because you have just such an unlimited amount of information.
Consistency moves mountains. So it's not about putting in 10 hours a day using social media or Facebook. It's about doing a little bit every day. And eventually that snowball turns into an avalanche. And listen, you can go at it alone, certainly, but it is better to find a mentor or somebody that's been where you are. I've just happened to service a lot of doctors over the years, over 7,700 as clients. And there are certain things that should be done in a certain way to maximize your effectiveness, so you don't have to spend more money than you need to, or to create more headaches and hassle. So that's where, like I said before, make sure you download that Facebook practice growth cheat sheet, and that'll save you a lot of time, energy, and effort. And then if you have any questions, you can find me on social media pretty easily at Matthew Loop on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc.
Awesome. So thank you so much for participating with us. I look forward to getting together with you at the next meeting. We're in the same place at the same time, as we both do a lot of travel around to all of these shows. So thanks, and have a great day.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Stu. Appreciate it.